All right, we got 1 minute till we're beginning. We'll see any from Fellowship Hall that want to come in and join us. They probably got their nuts by now and they're ready to. You weren't available. Your Brandon nut was not available. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started because the sooner we get started, the sooner we'll be complete. So welcome and thank you for staying. We haven't been doing regularly scheduled town halls in recent months. We just had our annual meeting last month, but in that annual meeting, and just as an aside for those of you who were not at the annual meeting, that is out there available on YouTube. You can go find it. It was recorded. This is being recorded, and we're inviting people who are joining us via the live stream if they have questions or comments that they want to make to be a part of it too. So you can go back and review all that if you want. But some questions arose from a couple of different people about wanting greater clarity about what it means for me to go into a part-time status. So I'm going to give you my little brief recap, and then we'll see what questions arise out of it. So first of all, just the background of this, as I turned 64 in October, I started looking at what it would look like. What does my Social Security look like? When would I want to take that? And as I explored that further, and what would that mean? So because I'm still not at my full retirement age, it means I'm limited to how much I can make if I say yes to Social Security benefits now. So I was like, well, what would that look like? So it got me on this sort of inquiry about what that might look like and feel like and be like for both me and for this community. And I approached the board about that back in, I guess it was probably our October board meeting, and we had some discussions about that. So for me, it was equally financially the same if I got Social Security and went to a half-time pay here as it was if I just stayed full-time. So it allowed me to have the same stream of income coming in right now on a monthly basis. And so then I said, well, if I do that, what does that look like if I go part-time? What is it that I would want? And what I approached the board with is the understanding that from a week-to-week basis, it may not look that much different, but I requested to have 10 weeks a year off so that I would take it in bigger chunks, and that I would begin to expand who did some of the duties that I used to do. So Norma Crawford has graciously said yes to being on the Metaphysical Bible Study group and supporting that group each week, which was a big chunk of time. You have to prepare for it, and then you have to be present every week. So that was okay, that frees up that little bit of my time. Denise Teague came and said yes to managing the spirit group. So when we have those, that can be time consuming to manage who are the different groups and make sure the hosts have what they need and support them in that. So as things have come up, I'm working at how can I develop greater leadership in this community so that my role really becomes about being a spiritual coach, if you will. My role becomes more about how am I going to deepen and widen the spiritual leadership of this community? How am I going to support this community in becoming its healthiest version, if you want to look at it that way? So that's kind of where we're at. It's been a little bit of an experiment. My intent now, I used to be, my office hours were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That didn't mean I wasn't here on Fridays or Saturdays, but those are my official office hours. I've changed those to be Tuesday and Wednesday, but I have yet to not be here on a Thursday yet. Right now, I've said yes to some other things. I've said yes to, on Saturdays, we've had a leadership spirit group that we've been meeting and we've been studying this being the beloved community. It was every board member is there, as well as other spirit group hosts, because it was also how to deepen our spirit group practice. And a few other key people that came into that. So we have 16 in that group. So that's been every Saturday. And I am, until the end of May, involved in this certification program, graduate sort of study on integral ministry practices. So that's every Friday. So the rest has to kind of be fit in around there. As far as how it's going to look as things move along, I think it's just going to be one of those that we're gonna figure it out. But my plan is certainly I will be here every week, except if I'm away. And part of my desire to have 10 weeks is not just for vacation, although that is important to me, because many of you know now I do love to travel, but to be able to have the time and be in integrity with spending that time with my mom. And the other aspect of this is that at least since I moved back to Texas, which was in 2020, I have not really allowed myself to give back to the unity movement and be in service that way. I always have, in some way, been in a volunteer position, either through, I was the president of the Eastern Region Board for a period of time, and then I also served as a mentor to up-and-coming ministers. So my desire is to get back to being of service in the unity movement, and I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I'm exploring where I might be needed and what gifts I can bring to the different aspects of Unity Worldwide Ministries or Unity Headquarters. So that's what comes to mind right now, and I'm just open to, what are your questions? What would you like more clarity around? What is it that would help you understand this in a more palatable? Yeah, there's no fear. I'm not planning on moving away. I'm not planning on leaving. You know, my goal, what I've told the board, is hopefully I got another good 3 or 4 years into me, and part of it was if I can go part-time and find some balance in all of that, it will increase my longevity of how long I can do church ministry. Because as those of you who have been around for a while know that this is, it can take every aspect of your life if you let it. All right, so I'm open to questions, and then whatever else, if you got other questions beyond just what it means for me to step into this part-time role, we can address those too. I've got several board members here, so if I can't answer it, we'll go to them.
Thank you, Reverend Linda. You kind of just answered it a little bit just by saying that. I was curious as to if you're going into part-time, like what your kind of exit strategy is, and you said in 3 to 4 years you're
That's what I'm thinking today.
Okay.
You know, I never know. It's a spirit-led thing. Every time I've made a move, it's when I've gotten that internal cue that it was time. But that's my view right now. That's what I think right now. My desire, my goal is to have this community be in its best space, to know very clearly who they want to come in and lead them next, not the individual, but what qualities they want and what they're looking for, and to help make that as smooth of a transition as possible. That's my goal.
I got roller skates on.
Yeah, we'll get to everybody.
That what you told us just now really helps a lot, because I confess I was very startled when you said you were going part-time. But I'm curious if we will maybe, I think we might be open to looking for guest speakers occasionally. And I don't know, I was wondering how you felt about that or thought about that.
You mean in the Sundays that I'm
In the
gone? Because I will have 10
Sundays,
Sundays
yeah.
off. Well, we already have one. People are just now beginning to travel and do the guest speaker circuit again, especially people not local. But yes, we'll be looking at, so we've got Armand and Angelina coming in May. I don't know how many of you ever experienced Armand and Angelina. They've been here years past. So they will come and be our guest speakers and musicians that day and offer a little concert. And Yeah, and then we will see. There's not as many people, in the Metroplex. I've reached out to, and it hasn't been good timing for Pat Moore, who used to come and speak. They're both kind of getting at that age where they're less and less inclined to do guest speaking. But yes, we have some wonderful people within our community, and we would also look beyond the community too. Yes. What else? Well, you do just because
Oh,
we've got
because
live
it's being
stream and they can't
recorded?
hear you.
Thank you. I was just wondering, administratively, is there something that's being done to help Mary?
Yeah, I know that was a concern that some of this, Mary's still doing what Mary's doing. She has not taken over any of my functions per se. We have brought back, we went for about a year and a half without an office person supporting Mary and doing a lot of the data entry of the weekly stuff that happens and cutting the checks. And so we do have, Amber Holland has come back working 6 hours a week in the office to support Mary, and that really frees her up quite a bit. But what I'm, the aspects of the ministry that I'm looking to expand the leadership in this community to support are not really anything that's going to be put on Mary per se. I don't think there's been anything that's come up so far that. Okay, for those of you online, Mary said it's terrible every day to come into work here. So I don't think it's going to impact her significantly. And if it does, then we'll have to address it. This is kind of I don't know. We're just trying to find our footing as to what this is going to look like as things unfold. Could you get the mic, please, Mary?
Hold on.
And then we'll bring it back.
It's been recorded. Well, that's okay.
You know, the church ran for a year without a minister. So there's a lot of people here who are willing to pitch in and do what needs to be done to support Linda and me. And there's really nothing to be concerned about, although I appreciate the concern. Thank you.
You may have already thought of this or have it in place, but as some of these functions are decentralized and you have different individuals doing them, I think it's going to be important to have an established communication channel for sharing of information. Otherwise, you can get very discrete little pods of things happening that are not integrated and may stray off whatever path you had envisioned.
I appreciate that observation, and yes, I think communication is going to be key, and we want everything to, integral is the whole goal of all of this, is that it's all supported and interconnected and communicated to those people who, not only in the community, but to the other people who might be doing some aspects of the ministry. And talking about guest speakers and educational offerings, the spiritual, why am I having SEC, the Spiritual Education Council, thank you, is also working, and they're going to be meeting soon to look at how that continues to evolve and help our community grow in many ways. And we've got, again, some really robust talent within this community that we can share, as well as bringing people in from the outside when it makes sense to do that, when there's someone available. All right, what else? Yes.
Linda, I do appreciate your further explanation about what you're going to be doing. It sounds exciting. One of my questions and concerns is we have been seeing more new faces, more families, and I think I don't want to deter that without your presence here. And I guess the communication part will help a lot. I want that to be a consideration. I don't want that to slow down.
Yes, no, I agree.
Because I think your messages mean a lot.
And I have now in the last couple years I have taken probably 6 to 8 Sundays off every year, and so this is just a couple more. I will just supposedly I just had 4 in my contract, and then 2 for conferences, and I am going to go to conference for the first time this year. When you have to make choices, like, well, I've already taken so many weeks off, I can't do conference too. So this brings me to feel like I'm in greater integrity with what's been agreed upon. The board and this community has been very wonderful to allow me when things have come up to say yes. It's great. Fine for you to be gone, but this is sort of now it's built into the system versus me having to ask permission, and sometimes I don't want to say I feel guilty, but sometimes I feel out of integrity with what my commitment was and what the community was paying me, and the fairness of all of that. So this just feels better to me. So I don't think it's going to impact you much more than it has been in the last. I still probably wouldn't be away more than a couple weeks at a time. 2 is probably the max. But even when I was gone 4 a couple years ago, that we had enough going on here that I think it worked. But thank you for asking that. What else? I can't read mine, so if you have a concern or a question or need more clarification, you can ask, or if there's anything else that's on your heart or mind that this is a forum in which, one of the things that we're really working on as a core practice and value is transparency, and this is what you're going to find. If I start hearing a bunch of people having questions about something, fine, let's call a town hall meeting. Whoever wants to show up, we'll put it out there, and I'm willing to answer, and the board too, to whatever level that we're able. I'd rather have it out there than you guys making up stories about what's happening.
Linda, is it possible, since we will be having some guest speakers, for it to be on the website or some other way that people will know who's going to be speaking that Sunday? I've gotten questions from people that drive a long way to church to know if you're going to be speaking that day. So.
Yeah, if you see another name, so if you don't see any name, that means I'm speaking. And it's in the bulletin, and it's in the monthly newsletter, and because it'll have, here's what the topics are each Sunday. And if it's a guest speaker, it will say guest speaker. Like next Sunday, we're having our guest speakers of Gigi and Matt will be sharing the message. And if you look in the bulletin, it says, with Gigi and Matt. So it is always published unless something happens and comes up that is unknown at the time of those things being published. If you don't see somebody where it says guest speaker, then that means I will be here leading the service. And we usually will be promoting, like if we have Armand and Angeli, you're going to know that too, because we're going to be promoting it for them. What else? Yeah, the calendar is on the app. Whether it says guest speaker in the calendar, I'm not really sure. There's a section in the newsletter that says this Sunday, or this month, here's the, we're doing a series on this, or here's the topics, and here's the message titles for each week. I don't know if it says it when you go to the calendar and drill down, to be honest with you.
And then I had asked my first one that you're thinking-ish 3 to 4 years-ish. And just with that in mind, are you kind of thinking about what that would look like as far as like who that person would be and having them shadow you? Like when do you think that would kind of come to?
That would be a no, in my opinion,
Okay.
because I will not participate in the selection of a new minister. even if I happen to still be here, it's not my role. I will offer no opinions. I will not be involved in the process. I will either have already left and will be in a period of transition. I say we. I'll always be a we here because, you know, this is my home. This is the first place I ever walked into a Unity community was right here. So this will always be my spiritual home, whether I'm physically present or not. But there would be a lot of preparation happening. And so I will begin to prepare the board, the search team, whatever it is. So I will at least support them in how to do it, but whoever comes in will be someone that the community selects. And I won't have anything to do with that. I will support this community as we go through this integral process of what kind of questions you might want to ask, what kind of values you might want them to be able to bring into the community, what kind of skill sets they might have, those kinds of things, because it's way more than just, and I think that's been discovered, you know, unfortunately, the search process that this community had to go through, they had no idea, zero, nobody in this community had ever done it before. So it was really challenging. So that won't happen again, A, because a lot of people have had the experience and they know what they don't want to do, and B, because that will be part of our journey together, is just being in that awareness and preparation for who it is that we're looking for. You have to know who you're looking for before you can know, and it's so much more than just Sunday mornings. This is a little bitty piece of ministry. But a lot of times people get enamored when you've got, you know, a really powerful speaker, but you want that to be a big package. You want that to be a complete package, and I know the right person will be here when that time comes. What else? But nothing's happening imminently. You know, it's not like next year, or it's not like all of a sudden I'm gonna. If the time comes where I'm stepping away, you'll know it long before. It won't be you'll come in one Sunday and I'll be like, okay, I'm done at the end of the month. It will be a much more planned out. That's my intent, unless your board says bye-bye. No, I'm kidding. They are my boss. I think they're all like, what? No, not yet. So we've got some time, and that's what I will be focused on, is really supporting this community in getting stronger and stronger in their own leadership and in their own clarity and their own structures and organizations. And there's all sorts of stuff that, you know, you want to be as in balance as you can, you know, the flowing correctly for whoever comes walking in. Probably just planting a little bit of seeds. I've been doing that in a few different aspects. There'll be a number of community activities that we'll be focused on doing here over the next year or two. Things that, you know, I've been learning and discovering as a way to help us really honor where we've come from and get some clarity about where, as a community, you're being called to step into in the future. So look for that over time. But it's going to happen. We don't evolve, you know, overnight or in a year or in 2 years. So, you know, that's why I've said 3 or 4 years. I want all of the work that we've done to be in a good space so that whoever comes in next comes into the healthiest, most loving, most vibrant, growing community possible. Okay.
All right, Reverend Linda. So I'd just like to affirm to everybody that we have been on this mission-centric growth cycle for the last couple of years here, where we've been trying to make that transition from a minister-centric community to a mission-centric community, to where we all have that input, we all feel like we're driving, and we all have something invested in it. And this is just a natural evolution of it. Reverend Linda's great. She's awesome. And I just see this as we're taking the training wheels off, basically. That's it.
But I'll still behind, pushing, you know. All right, I'm letting go. Yeah. What else? Everybody feel clear? All right. Well, I'm not going to hold us any longer if there's no other questions. I appreciate you being here. And, you know, certainly if you have an individual question, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. If you start hearing stuff buzzing, like we're unsure what's going on, you know, and it starts to sort of be making its way around the rumor mill, please reach out, because this is what we'll do. If there's some stuff happening, my intent and my reaction and my response will be, let's bring it to the light. Let's see what it is and see how we can put it to rest, whatever that looks like. Okay?
Very well said. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, Kenny, was there any? Big zero for those watching online. Thank you for being here, even those on the live stream.